I've come today to the main cemetery in Newport, South Wales, St Woolus, and excuse me if I pronounce that incorrectly. This is the largest cemetery in Newport and one that is still open. As you would expect for a city like Newport, this is a very large cemetery. The first impressions are good. Lots of mature trees, grass looking green, very few brambles restricting access. Some of the stones are becoming a little delaminated. That one there has lost its inscription. This one here completely lost. And I move across to this one. Again, the face has completely disintegrated. But those are exceptions. This one is tilting at a crazy angle forward. Margaret Excel, 1908, age 79, and Gertrude Ellen Holder, granddaughter, 1918, and another name beneath that. As in most graveyards, there's infilling of newer graves amongst the old ones, using up the spare spaces. This is Edward Randall Graucut, 1971, age 79. But right alongside there is a war grave. And this one dates back to 1919 for W.H. Wallington, the Royal Welsh Fusiliers, who was just 18. As you can see, a sizable graveyard. This is just one of a number of paths to explore. Clearly an issue here with the soft ground. This one is tilting to the right. Thomas Edward Chivers, 1906, just 36 years old. And Sarah Ann Chivers, who lived on for another 28 years, dying aged 64. A small stone. And this is for Margarita, the wife of William Richardson, 1909, age 34. This one is some sort of Gothic-like script, making it distinctive but not so easy to read. It seems to be Joseph Fullilove, 1895, and Emma Fullilove, his wife. This one's leaning forward at a dangerous angle. It's got a sailing ship at the top. Francis, beloved son of John, David and Ellen Metcalfe, aged 2 years and 10 months. And then if we come down, we've got John David Metcalfe, pilot of this fort. I don't know what the fort refers to. Pilot of this fort, he was aged 31 years, 1873. I'll introduce you to the figure of this young girl, maybe an angel, maybe wings on her back. She seems to be caught moving, walking forward. And if we look at the inscription, it is Hughes. Amy May Hughes, I think, and George and Amy Hughes. Yeah, rather a nice image of a young girl. Adjoining it is this one for Harold Edward, the infant son of Edward and Lillian Parsons, just 13 months. And then also sadly John Samuel Parsons, who was killed in action in France in 1940, aged 23 years. And then you've got the parents beneath that. It's a shame that some of the stone they've used does tend to delaminate. This one here, we've lost the inscription. If you look back there, the one to the left of the one with the cross, completely delaminated, the inscription has gone. And then another one back there, inscription lost for all times. Just a choice of stone by the stonemason was unfortunate. A really thick slab of marble on this one, but again it's tipping forward with the soft soil. The inscription reads, Thomas, the beloved husband of Margaret Hughes, late of Alliance, Ohio, USA, 1920, and then Margaret Hughes, 1924. Over there I can see a group of graves which are clearly those of children, and a few more up here. Always a particularly sad part of a graveyard. Difficult to pick one out of so many, but here's one at random. Wyatt Rose Wheeler, 15 months old. Just behind that you see an area where they've got a number of new graves using what space is available, but an indication that the cemetery is still open. This one has the badge of Liverpool Football Club. You'll never walk alone. Lemmy Dean Bullock. Looks to have been 36 years old. So his parents were Gwenda and George, and he was father of Ryan, Abigail and Luca. And to show you that the modern gravestones don't have to be that shiny black marble with gold lettering, which is so common. This one is a plain piece of stone. Timothy John Pratt, 2006. Josephine Patricia, 2017. A war grave, and the flowers indicate that somebody still pays attention to this grave. Ernest James Hobbs, able seaman, Royal Naval Volunteer Reserve, HMS Excellent, 1918, age 22. But somebody still remembers. We saw one of these very thick pieces of stone a little while back. This one's not quite so thick, but it is a solid piece of marble. William, beloved husband of Elizabeth Thomas, 1922. Elizabeth Jane, the wife of the above, and some other names further down. A beautifully cared for grave, absolutely full of flowers, a mixture of live flowers and silk flowers. John Evans, known as Slim. Let me show you the reverse of this stone. And a large depiction of the Welsh dragon and a true Rhondda boy. I have such precious memories of happy days gone by, of little things that we have shared together, you and I. Well, up near the chapels of rest are the larger stones. There always seems to be a need for those with money to get as close to the chapel as possible. So these are the larger, more expensive stones, mostly from the Victorian era. And claiming a spot right close to the path is the very tall obelisk, and this is Edwin Grove of Brendan View, Newport, chairman of the Monmouthshire County Council. One of the most elaborate stones you'll see anywhere in any cemetery. Lots of fancy bits of stone masonry, and if we get a little closer to read the inscription, Charles Henry Bailey, 1847-1907, and he's surrounded by other Baileys. It doesn't tell you much about them or what they did. Probably landowners. We don't know. A nice large monument in black stone, black marble, lot of names on it, but I particularly liked the middle one on this face, and that reads George Charles Tovey, Undertaker of this town. I'm guessing he knew this cemetery pretty well. A lot of stones here, a lot to explore. There's an image of a woman clutching a book in her hand, hanging on to a simple wooden cross. And then we come down the stone and we can just about make out that it's to James King, 1873. A little different, a big stone panel and the letters brought out in relief. Helen, the loved wife of George Greenland, 1909, and then Alderman George Greenland, JP, 1916. And beneath that we have some other members of their family. Nice depiction of an angel with the wings wide open, and this one is to Ralph Conroy, known as Roy. Alongside it we have another angel. Someone's put a recent rose into her hand. She seems to be holding a trumpet in her left hand. It's not easy to make out the inscription, but it seems to be the surname of Parks. And this is a very large memorial. The lady, the angel, is larger than life size, or human size, larger than a human being. Tilting forward, unfortunately, because the ground is soft. And on the base, Henry James. At the very top, Andrew, eldest son of Andrew and Margaret Dick, died at Clarence Nursery, aged 24 years. And then William, youngest son of the above named, who died 2 years later. He too was aged 24 years. This is RSM James Truman Howell, aged 41. His wife May, aged 40, and their daughter Annette, aged 6 years, died by accident November the 17th, 1940. Clearly the implication there is that they all died together in that accident. Right beside the path we have a war grave. Air Mechanic B.D. Thomas, Royal Air Force, 1920, age 34. Then we've got Catherine, the beloved wife of Robert Roberts, 1889, and then Robert Roberts, 1890. He's interred elsewhere at Gilgane, Flintshire. And then we've got some grandchildren of Robert Roberts. Now this very tall obelisk is about to go over, and it's not a problem of soft ground. If you look down at the base, you'll see a tree has grown under the monument and has pushed forward and come up. Now they've cut the tree right back, but you can see the big thick root which is causing all the problem. And the inscription tells us that this very tall, large monument is actually dedicated to an infant child, aged 1 month, Edith Edwards Haas, 1880. High up here is a woman gazing into the distance, Her dress is falling off her left shoulder and her right hand is clasped to her bosom trying to hold the dress on. Her left hand is on the top of an anchor. Interesting depiction. The inscription is to Lewis Clark, a merchant of this town, 1869, aged 38 years. And then we scan down, we can see other names below. Two very elaborate children's graves of the family MacDonough. I'll give you a little close-up. This is to William May, Bill, 2004. Top left we have a rugby player in the old style Welsh rugby kit, and the right hand side we have a boxer. Another modern stone in a quite different style. Dr. John Martell Hughes, physician, psychiatrist, scholar. He died in the year 2005. Up here there's a new area for remembrance. The back wall is quite well taken, but in front you see these rows of concrete slabs. They'll be for erecting other memorials. This is not for burials. This is to remember people that were cremated, much more common nowadays than burial. I'll give you a close-up of some of these memorials. So taken at random, John Herbert Baker, Edgar Berry, William Bainton, Mavis Jew Pring, William George Parkman, Yvonne Patricia Jennings, and so on right the way down the row. And right behind that is this quite remarkable memorial. It's a carving brought out in 3 dimensions of a young girl. Beautifully done. And a more modern inscription on the bottom. Maud Elizabeth, wife of E. Manville and daughter of Charles Woolus, and she died in 1909. But that's quite an unusual memorial. I like that. This one has 4 angels sitting on each of the 4 corners at the top here. When we come down we can see it's to Sarah Rosamond, the beloved daughter of Tim and Lydia Spittle, 1872. And that's unusual to see the 4 angels like that. A very tall and slender one. It doesn't seem to be leaning too much either. Let's give you a close-up at the top. We have the figure, female figure, finger pointing upwards with a cross. You pan down this slender column. There's some decoration there for the coat of arms. And we come down to the elaborate area at the base for the inscription. And it says Joseph Finbank. And on what is one of the main faces, affectionate remembrance of Annie Isabella, beloved daughter of Joseph and Isabella Furbank, 1863, 3 years and 8 months. This one in the Art Deco style from 30s, much bigger than we normally see, but sadly it's not easy to get the inscription. But a nice design. A very tall column in memory of Amelia, the beloved wife of Charles Hall, a ship owner, died in 1859. Most unusual. Some sort of complicated crest of some sort. If you look at the top, there's a two-headed eagle. There's intertwined cross further down. Very splendid with leaves and all sorts of decorations. The inscription at the bottom, which unfortunately is losing its letters, tells us it was Walter Hunter, 1912. Of course, on closer inspection and thinking about it, the symbols in the middle are of course for the Freemasons, the compass and the square. So presumably he was quite a high up, a big knob in the Freemasons. This is commemorating someone who died in the war, Corporal Hugh John Carter, 4th Battalion Monmouthshire Regiment, Commando, beloved son of James and Florence Carter, 1940, aged 25, and then greater love hath no man. And a couple of war graves. Leading aircraftman D.L. Bennett, Royal Air Force, 1942, aged 21. Sadly, it's done in this stone which I've seen used around here, which doesn't wear as well as some of the other stones the CWGC used. And this one to Captain G.W. Collins, 3rd Battalion of the Monmouthshire Regiment, 1944, aged 27. And someone's put a new plaque close by in loving memory of Mum, Grace Collins. This one to our darling son, Mark Andrew Follett, who died tragically in 1973, aged 9. Well, as I've mentioned before, this is a very large graveyard. I haven't really scratched the surface. There is plenty to see here. Certainly if you're in Newport, worth the time to come up the hill and view this cemetery. I'm going to leave it there though. So till the next time.